And welcome to Sports here this morning to bring you up to speed up with the latest happening revolving around the world of sport. Top one out menu this morning, Nigerian target Olympic sports at World Table Tennis Championship. Coming in from the world of boxing, Francis Ngannou snubs Anthony Joshua's vows. And in football, Manchester United veteran season suffered another significant blow. These and many more will be yours. Stay with us.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Will Rockman get up or have to take it? Telling him not to counterpunch. Will Rockman get up or have to take it?
Back, Steve Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. Today's edition of the show promises to be an exciting one as I have with me for tackled sports veteran Peter Abaji. Good morning to you, Abaji, and welcome to Sports Talk.
Yeah, good morning to you, Emmanuel. It's my pleasure to be on the show with you. Very lovely Thursday morning.
You once again, on the show. Let's quickly take a look at what is happening in volleyball at the moment as we hear the pair of Estamba and Naomi Yaro who represents Nigeria at the 2023 Under-21 World in Thailand. The World Championship is scheduled from 8th to 13th of November at the beach Bent Bro Heads in Thailand. The coach for Nigerian Under-21 beach volleyball team, Christiana Amadi, expressed optimism that the players would perform well at the championship. Amadi said the fit following the 1 month gap and their participation at the just concluded 23 National Beach Tour in Jalingo, Taraba State. Nigerian men qualified for the championship after placing second position at the 2023 Beach Volleyball Championship in Morocco in September. This is going to be another time where we see the strength, of the team once again. That this team, I don't know what you make of it. Do you think we could as well see another impressive performance from the Under-21 team when it has to do with volleyball Nigeria?
Kingsley, they did the country proud. I expect them to go to the World Championship with same mentality. And fortunately, the head coach of the beach national team in the country happens to be an homeboy, a Port Harcourt boy, John Iwerima. We played volleyball together at some point, and while he was playing, he was also coaching. So John Iwerima is now a national team coach. We met at the National Youth Games in Asaba, where he also brought some young, beach volleyball players, male, female, to the National Youth Games, and he was so optimistic about the chances of these girls, going the distance. They might not win the world. Win, it is going to be a bonus, so we should not be expecting too much from them because they are playing not just against the best in Africa or the best in the Commonwealth of Nations. They are playing against the very best, in the world, and you have to make up for the weakness of the other player. It's two players on each side of the divide, and you know the strength of this player. Take advantage of the strength of your teammate, and make up for the weakness, of your teammates. We expect to see, a grade A performance from these girls, because this is not just at the looking forward to representing Nigeria at the senior level. They've got age on their side, and they've got great coaches, working with them. Coaches that have also played at this level of the competition. They've recommended the president of the Nigeria Volleyball Federation for exposing them to the right atmosphere in preparation to participating in this. And nothing less than a splendid show, from them.
Impressive one. We keep our fingers crossed and see how, of course, the players will perform, in this particular championship. But so far, what do you make of, the Volleyball Federation under the leadership of Engineer Nimrod?
Well, for in Port Harcourt a few years ago, and I had the opportunity of asking him questions about his plans for volleyball. That for those of us who did have the opportunity to play for the country, each time we see volleyball players, or we read on the pages of the newspapers that volleyball players are traveling out of the country for one major competition or the other, it gladdens our heart. Years ago, this wasn't the case. You have these players, they just train and train and train year in, year out. Volleyball league, yes. Volleyball league. All we are appealing to, and not just the government in love with level in the secondary school, also played it while we're done with secondary school until injury, setting. So regular competition is important for the development of the game of volleyball. It is not enough for you to be discovered, let's say, for example, in GS3, SX1, SX2, SS3, 4 years after your discovery, you're going to go mature, invest that same 1 billion naira in the other sports, and you see the amount of glories, that talent in other sports will produce for Nigeria, and the glory they will bring to this country. So for Nimrod, it goes for sports. Why are you putting your money in sports? Are you bankrolling this competition because you want to make money in entity? They want people to identify with that product. They want people to identify with that brand. Maybe in the first 1 year of sponsorship or bankrolling of that competition. By the second year, people begin to appreciate what this organization has done for this sport. They want to buy into the product. They want to have replicas of that product in their houses, in their offices, in their shops, as the case may be, depending on what whatsoever that is sponsoring, deals on. So for me, bring your money to volleyball, bring your money to basketball, bring your money to handball, put your money there.
Interesting, of course, the new Minister of Sports, John Wanino, of course, has been clamoring for corporate bodies to come sponsor sports down here in Nigeria, and he's much, is very much particular about the National Sport Festival. The other day he was saying that the National Sport Festival is lucrative enough after about 22 years, that the sport festival is now lucrative enough, of course, for sponsors, to attract sponsorship. As I don't know if you agree with the sports minister on that particular note.
Yeah, I think the National Sports Festival should be able. I'll tell you something. When Rivers State hosted the 17th edition in 2011, Rivers State hosted, the slogan then was "Host to Win." They actually won. The festival then was taken to the corporate world because I happen to be a member of the sub-publicity committee. Support from some for this venue of the competition. This is what we are going to do, and thereby reducing the burden on the host state. Beyond that, if my state is hosting, I got the hosting rights 2 years before the next games. We have to start approaching the corporate establishment even before we go for the bidding process, so that if we eventually get the hosting rights, these people will see some seriousness in us.
Mm.
They met us about 1 year ago, 2 years ago, that they want us to support, their bid for the National Sport Festival. They eventually got the National Sport Festival. We have to come all out and support whatever they want to do. Company A, what can you do for us? Can you take care of this project for us? And this is what you're going to get in return from the state government in the area of tax, rebate. And you see, every eligible company doing business in your state identify with that project. Something happened some few years ago. I was in the office of the Commissioner of Sports, and some chaps from marketing executives from one of the old generation banks came to the office. We wanted to open the ministry account with us, to launch the ministry account with us. And that means everything that does to the Ministry of Sports account will be with us. For the football teams, male and female, will be with us. And I whispered to the commissioner, I said, it is not a bad idea, but you should be able to ask them, what can they do for you in return? Let them sponsor one major sporting event annually outside football. It could be swimming, it could be basketball, it could be any other sport. Okay? So that is what I think state governments too needs to start doing. Because this corporate establishment, they will certainly come to you or you will go to them. It's like trade by barter. I'm going to give you XYZ if you give us this level of support. And before you know it, if you have 8 companies with the next National Sport Festival, and the festival becomes the most successful and becomes the reference point for the previous National Sport Festival, and will become the reference point for our subsequent National Sport Festival, you'll be rest assured that successive hosts will also want to build on the success story of the last host of the National Sport Festival.
Yeah.
Because the presence of the corporate world will actually make the games more than as successful.
Interesting one. Let's see, of course, how sports, of course, will be monetized. The Minister of Sports, John Wanino, is actually looking for a means where sports, of course, can be taken from that spotlight of just being a recreational thing down here in Nigeria to, money-making business at the end of the day. Let's see how this one will come. There are federations in Nigeria, and I tell you, this federation actually need, especially the volleyball federation we talked about. But let's take a look at the tennis federation. As we hear, Nigeria will compete against 39 other countries for sports in the event. Talking about the Paris 2024 Olympics, they will be competing in the World Table Tennis Championship just to gain qualification for the Paris 2024 Olympics, and this will be at the World Table Tennis Championship. Of course, this will come next year. Here, the championship will hold at the Busan Exhibition and Convention Center from February 16 to 25th, 2024. Now, according to the ITTF, Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Madagascar are African representatives in the men's team event, while Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, and Mauritius will fly the continent flag in the women's category. Yes, this is another opportunity where Nigeria, of course, has to look for that sports at the Paris 2024 Olympic when it comes to table tennis. But so far, our players, they've not really lived up to expectations. The likes of Aruna Quadri, Funko Ishonaike, Fatima Bello, Efyonge Dem, and the rest. In the recent ranking, they dropped, from their previous in the ranking. So I don't know what you make of it. For about, let's say, 2 years now, table tennis, we've not seen the table tennis players, living up to expectation. How sure are you that possibly we might get this sport for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games?
In qualifying for the Olympic Games, double sure that yes, Aruna Quadri will get a place. But having a podium performance is what I am not sure of. In the last 10 years or more than, Aruna Quadri has been the shining light of the ping pong game in Nigeria, and he has also dominated Africa, shared the #1 spot in Africa with the Egyptians. And 10 years after, there is no likely replacement for Aruna Quadri. That is the problem that I have with his continuous stay up there. We should have like 4, 5, 6 players now within that bracket that we can say maybe Kingsley, maybe Peter, maybe Reginald Sam, maybe this, maybe that will be the next #1 player in Nigeria and in Africa because of the way they are going in another 2 years. If you take away Aruna Quadri, then Nigeria cannot be sure of a podium performance at the All-African Games, not sure of a podium performance at the Commonwealth Games, and not sure for a podium performance at one continental championship or the other. That is a source of concern for the Table Tennis Federation in Nigeria. If it is, then they have to start thinking of how to have, players who can take over from Aruna Quadri, just in case anything happens to him. Funke Oshunaike, how old is she today?
Very old.
Very old, but she's still very, very relevant. It goes to show that there is a very big problem. The same set of players that she started playing with, Egyptian players, Algerian players, Tunisian players, some of them are coaches today, some of them are administrators today, and some of them are into one management program or the other in table tennis. So why are us still playing and when they should throw in the towel?
Tell you, that's a very big question as it is, and it's left for the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation to answer that. Because talking about this one, Aruna Quadri led side and lost the Continental Soul ticket to Egypt at the 23 African Championship in Tunisia, and of course this time around they'll be aiming to qualify for the same event in Paris, and we hope, of course, at the end of the day they get this one. So a lot of questions need to be asked because of recent the performance of Nigerian table tennis players have actually dropped. Aruna has not been, in the best of form as well. We saw him, I think, at some point at the Commonwealth Games. He didn't actually do well. The recent ranking, he just dropped as well. So for me, I think there's a she described as a bullfight. Fernandez, who lost to Britain's Emirate Kanu in the 2021 US Open final, edge past Sarah Thomas 7-6, 7-6 in a tense battle. Earlier, Italy beat France in Group D on the 2-0 for women's team event, and 12 nations taking part in the finals of the competition, which was formerly known as the Fed Cup, with teams split into 4 groups in the round-robin stage. The group winners will advance to Saturday's finals before the champions are crowned after Saturday's final in B, and the winners will receive prize money of $2.4 million, which is part of an overall payment of payment post of $9.6 million, a record figure for the event, which matches the cash awarded in the men's equivalent Davis Cup. But let's stay away from tennis now, as we'll take a look at boxing. Really, the boxing world is really getting interesting, Mr. Peter, because Francis Ngannou is the man of the moment. A lot of persons are talking about him, after that impressive performance we saw against Tyson Fury. But there was we actually got to report that there might be a bout between him and Anthony Joshua, but he has come out to say that he doesn't want to fight Joshua. That he's waiting for a rematch against Tyson Fury. Do you see a possible rematch between Ngannou and Tyson Fury?
I don't see that happening, not this year. And there was no rematch clause, in the contract they signed before that fight took place in Saudi Arabia. And for Tyson Fury, he understood something after that match. And there was one scene, one of the round, that it was like Francis forgot that he was in the boxing ring. He wanted to use the hammer punch like it was in the UFC ring. For Tyson Fury, is Usyk that he wants to fight. That is a big fight for him. He wants to have all belts around his waist: WBA, WBC, WBF, and IBF. He wants to have all 4 belts, around his waist. He has 3 belts. He has 1 belt around his waist, the WBC. I think yes. While Usyk has 3 belts that he took from our own Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury to fight the Ukrainian. And I'm double sure that Tyson Fury will not want to have that rematch with Francis Ngannou, even next year, Anthony Joshua. So let's see what will happen. He has made the heavyweight division of the in boxing more interesting than it was before now, because a few weeks ago, it is Fury moved from the cruiserweight to the next weight before getting to the heavyweight, category. So now we have another, fighter, another boxer in the mix. So we don't just talk about these other guys. There's also a Jagba.
Yeah.
He has about 14 fights, about 14, 18 fights. He has about 60-70% in knockouts, and is also a heavy puncher. He won a fight just a few days ago. So the heavyweight category will be as interesting as it was when Mike Tyson took the world by storm in the late 80s and up to the early 90s before they should be able to throw punches, should be able to throw kicks, and for Francis, it does appear it was more of a boxer than maybe a judoka, a wrestler, or a taekwondo, athlete. And what actually helped him in the ring against Tyson Fury was what he has gathered over the years as a UFC fighter, where endurance is an important, factor, an important skill for you as a fighter. There's just 3 rounds, 4, 5 rounds in some cases. You need endurance to go through the distance, because it's not just punches that you're throwing alone. There are also other attributes that you have to bring to the mat. So that worked for him perfectly well, through the distance of that fight with Tyson Fury. I'm sure he has a future, because it wasn't, a one-way fight, a one-way thing for Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
He met his match in the early rounds of that fight, and something told him, if I don't come out, then I'll have myself to blame before we get to round 8. He was thinking that, yes, Francis is a newcomer, so I should just take him out, by the time we get to round 5. But he met a rock, in that ring. So Francis has a very bright future. He should not allow punching skills, in the ring.
Mike Tyson currently behind him. Do you see, will you attribute some of his performance to Mike Tyson?
Yes, you have to take something from Mike Tyson. While we were growing up, we were told, I think I was in secondary school then when Mike Tyson was fighting in class 2 or 3, and they were told that his punch is as heavy as a 50 kg bag of cement.
Yeah.
You need to have power behind your left punch if you're a southpaw, or your right punch. And the moment to hit that punch, when it comes, don't hesitate to hit it. There are stuff that I believe he took from Mike Tyson, he learned from Mike Tyson. And if you want to punch like Mike Tyson, you have to sit close to Mike Tyson and ask him questions. His training routine in the 80s and 90s, are they still relevant in the present generation, where some persons will tell you sports